Hey you guys, it is October 16th and we're moving into the Feast of Tabernacles this evening. We will also at this time be moving into the full moon. And as I had mentioned in previous videos, that this full moon is in the sign of Aries, which is symbolizing war, the god of war, God going out as a warrior, and how each new moon has a 6-month cycle to it. And so from this full moon, 6 months prior was the April 8th big significant new moon solar eclipse in the sign of Aries, also the god of war. And Aries represents forward momentum, forward movement. And Aries is the first sign of the zodiac of the constellation houses. So it represents new beginnings and moving forward and a time to advance. And as I mentioned, the storyline to this 6-month solar eclipse, April 8th, new moon, to 6 months later, closing out the scene with this full moon in the sign of Aries, and also beginning the Feast of Tabernacles, is completing a cycle and bringing us into a place of harvest and a place of celebration, a place of being with God as He takes us into new beginnings. So the Feast of Tabernacles is a 7-day feast that represents the establishment of the kingdom of God on earth and the 1,000-year reign of Jesus Christ. The kingdom is the gospel that Jesus came to announce, and the Bible says that eventually everyone will keep the Feast of Tabernacles. This is found in Zechariah 14, verses 16 and 19. And John chapter 7 describes some of the things that Jesus did and taught while he kept the Feast of Tabernacles. These are a list of significant meanings of the Feast of Tabernacles. It's a time of celebrating the harvest. And I truly believe that prophetically God is bringing us into a time of harvest, a time of judgment where each person receives their portion due to them for their obedience or, unfortunately, disobedience. But for the righteous, this is a time that we have to look forward to, a harvest. The Feast of Tabernacles is also a time for remembering the Exodus. Now, this is significant because, as I said, the new moon, April 8th, was also the solar eclipse, was the sign of Jonah. And the full moon that took place in April was a time, it was a full moon during the Passover. It began the Passover, and it also was significant to the time of Jesus's death and resurrection. So this is what took place during that time of Passover and when he brought them out of Egypt. And so this is a time that we remember the Exodus, and a time we can look forward to God's provision. And it's also looking forward to the Messianic age when all nations will worship God. It's a time to be faithful and obedient and celebrate God's saving acts. And this is a time where we are to be joyful for the time that we have together and a time to feel God's presence. So I truly believe that something significant is just on the horizon, and all the signs are in the heavens. And so we are entering into the 7-day Feast of Tabernacles. And right after the completion of these 7 days, we enter into the holiday called Shemini Atzeret. And I might have really not pronounced that right, but this was the 8th day following the 7 days of the Feast of Tabernacles, and it translates into the 8th day of assembly, and it represents the time beyond the 1,000-year reign of Christ, when all people who have lived will be resurrected and judged. And this is a time when God's people tarried so that they could spend more time with the Lord. So this is the beautiful significance of the Feast of Tabernacles, of this full moon we're moving into. And I truly believe that this is going to trigger a series of events that are going to result in the vindication of God's people, the blessings to come upon his people, for justice to be seen in the land, for exposure to be seen. Understand that, as I mentioned, this full moon is the ending to a 6-month script that God has been playing out in the heavens. And this script I've called the fall of Medusa and the sea monster. And so if you haven't seen my video on that and the breakdown, this is what God's been displaying in the sun, moon, and the stars. And this is what's been taking place. And he is gone out as a warrior, and he's going to bring a completion to this cycle of his story. And we're going to see the fall of Medusa and the overcoming of the sea monster, which will release the riches and the inheritance of the Lord from the underworld, from the depths of the sea, and it will release the wealth transfer unto his people. And this is where we will see Medusa, or Jezebel, fall from her tower. I was watching a movie called Tangled, and I'd been wanting to watch this movie for years and never did, but I finally watched it, and there was so much prophetic just confirmation within that movie. But one of the things is the evil, wicked witch who was pretending to be the mother of the princess, who did not know her identity. Her identity was stolen. She was stolen. And in the end, she came to realize that she was a princess. Her crown was restored to her, and the wicked witch fell from the tower. And it just was a message of the fall of Jezebel that we are about to see. And in the movie, the mother was so manipulative. This mother, pretend to be mother, who was actually a witch, using manipulation and control to hold the princess captive from ever finding out who she was, and from living the life that she was called to live and fulfilling her destiny. And in the end, Jezebel fell. The underdogs were the ones who helped the princess reach and fulfill her destiny. And in the end, the outcast, or the underdogs, also lived happily ever after. And so this is where God is bringing his people, and this is a time of celebration, because God is faithful, and he's going to provide and fulfill all that he's called for his people. Be blessed.